Hey folks, Matt from artoftheimage.com. So following up on showing you the shots we were doing on day one on assignment with the Nikon D610, wanted to discuss my thoughts and experience of shooting the D610 after a day with it, specifically as you saw in the last video. Check it out. I'll put the link below if you haven't seen it. We were at the Natural History Museum here in Woodstock. Basically the 610, we got it right here with the 2485 on it. Feels very familiar if you're coming from any other Nikon DSLRs. I have a 5200. I've had the 7000, the 700. Lord, the list would go on and on if I started naming them all. But anyways, if you're familiar with a Nikon body, you could pick up the 610 here and start shooting with it right away. The biggest thing, the little caveat to that, is that I couldn't figure out for the life of me while I was at the museum, and I actually had to look it up when I got home. I was having a heck of a time trying to figure out how to switch to center focus, because I like to shoot center focus a lot, especially in a situation like that where I'm not tracking sports or animals or something. Well, those of you that have a 7100 will probably be familiar with this, because I think this is in all the newer bodies. But I wasn't used to this, because my 7000 wasn't set up this way. The AF to manual switch down here underneath the lens on the body, right by the preview, or I guess that's the lens release button there. The preview's on the other side, but right by the lens release button, it now is a toggle switch. You push it in, and then you use your command dial to switch through the focus points, if what you want to shoot with, whether you want to be in single, continuous, if you want to use the auto, what do they call it, the AAF or whatever. So, if you want it to track, or if you want to go to a single focus point and then control your focus points. So that was the biggest thing for me, was figuring out how to get to the center focus point so I could use that and then control which focus points I was shooting with. So if you're not familiar with the newer bodies like the 610 or the 7100, be aware that that is how you change your focus point. Autofocus was excellent. It was quick and locked on. It was accurate. Didn't seem to be quite as fast as my Nikon D7000, but still certainly acceptable and functioned very well, especially when I was able to get it to the center focus point, which is what I'm used to shooting with when I'm normally shooting. As I mentioned in the initial observations video, I still find the 610 a little heavy, and that's because I'm coming from my 5200, which is lighter and a smaller body. 610, a little bit bigger, a little bit heavier body, a little more heft to it. And again, like I mentioned before, we're not talking D4S heavy or even D800 heavy, but just a little bit bigger and a little bit heavier than you'll be used to if you're coming from a 3300, a 5300, or even a 7100. So just something to be aware of. And I did notice it throughout the day as I was shooting, because I'm used to a smaller, lighter body. So I think I would adapt very quickly if this is what I was shooting with all the time, regularly. And certainly not a problem, just something I wanted to point out to you folks. Image files coming out of the D610, very nice, very rich, detailed files. High ISO is a dream. This thing, the 610, is better than I remember, probably by at least a stop. I'd have to check and see what the actual numbers are, but when I'm looking at things, from what I remember of my D700, the 610 is beating it, and I would say by about a stop, just off the top of my head, and that's with twice the megapixels of my older Nikon D700, both full frame, but the 610 is 24 megapixels and performs very well at high ISO. In fact, I think if you take a look at DxOMark sensor reports, you'll find that the 610 is one of the top ranking high ISO cameras. In tandem with that, I shot a lot with the 24 to 85 kit lens. That's what's on here right now. And that's a variable aperture, f3.5 to 4.5, but I didn't really notice an issue with that. A lot of times I would normally be shooting with f2.8 constant aperture lens, but the D610 comfortably shoots at ISO 6400. Looking at the files, I was blown away at how clean they were at 6400, and basically didn't notice or didn't feel the lack of a faster aperture using the kit lens, because I was able to get clean files at ISO 6400 out of the D610. The 24 to 85 is a very useful range. It's a nice lens. It's small, it's compact, as you can see here. on the 610. It's not very heavy. It goes nicely with the size of the 610. It's nicely balanced lens for that, and I see why Nikon has packaged it as a kit, because it works well with the 610 as like an a general lens to use on it, a walk around lens if you will, and performs well too. That said, when I switched over to the Nikon 50mm f1.8G on the 610, not only did I get faster autofocusing, I noticed an improvement in the speed of the autofocus because we're into a much faster lens there, but it's a lighter lens, and also I love shooting with 50mm, so to me that was a beautiful pairing with the D610, was the 50mm f1.8G and the 610. Made for a nice light body, took some weight away, and got a very sharp, very fast focusing, very detailed lens there on the 50mm f1.8G. Probably one of the best values in the entire Nikon lens arsenal. The other thing that was of note with the D610 when I was using the 50mm f1.8G, and again, that's the 50mm f1.8G, not the f1.4G, but with the 610 and it being a full frame, I was able to get very, very shallow depth of field at f1.8 with that 50mm, much shallower than I get on the DX body, my 5200. It was very nice performing lens. The files look great. Go back at the last video and have a look at some of the shots done at high ISO, and stay tuned for some of the further videos we have coming. And I'm going to specifically actually do a video just illustrating depth of field with the 50mm on the D610, because it's actually just it's stunning what the D610 can do with the 50mm f1.8G paired with it as far as shallow depth of field, and I think you'll be impressed. Overall, day one was a great day shooting with the Nikon D610 with the 24 to 85mm kit lens and with my 50mm f1.8G, and looking forward to getting into day two and showing you some different shots and some different things, aspects of the Nikon D610. Thanks for tuning in, folks. Stay tuned. We'll be back soon with some new articles, some new videos. Keep you up to date with what's going on in the world of photography, videography, technology, and we'll be back with more on the D610 right here at artoftheimage.com. Thanks a lot, folks.